Nicole, then I'm your platform assistant for this last Sunday in October. We were treated to another beautiful weather week here in central Iowa, and with much needed rainfall on Friday that then settled the dust and gave way to a perfect fall day on Saturday. So I hope you enjoyed it like I did. Welcome to Unity Church of Ames. Good to see you here today. And our chaplain, and he'll be available to pray with you during the time from 11:30 to 11:50 in the prayer room here. And please join us for coffee and treats after the service as well. Okay, thank you, Clark and all. And please join me now for an opening prayer. Dear infinitely present and loving, divine Holy Spirit, as a family here at Unity Church of Ames, we settle into the silence once again, like the October leaves that fall and make a beautiful and colorful tapestry on our Mother Earth. We are comforted in knowing your plans. We give thanks for your all-knowing wisdom. Your wise counsel and guidance are available infinitely to inspire and temper our zeal. We feel protected and grateful. As we co-create with you, we are filled with renewed enthusiasm, and our lives are prospered. In turn, we enrich the lives of others as we create what we have been specifically designed to share with this world. You have given us much inspiration in the beauty of nature, the innocence of children, the kindness of friends, and the vastness of the universe. May we always stand in joyful exuberance for the blessing of life. Through the Christ Spirit in us. Amen. Now let's join together for the Unity Worldwide Ministries Foundation Statement. Together, there is one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And also the Unity Church of Ames affirmation. Together, through the Christ Spirit in us, we create a better church and a better world. So be it. And now Clark Ford will read the daily word for today.
The daily word for today is world peace. I nurture peace by loving myself and others. The way I care for myself affects the way I show up in the world. I keep this in mind in everything I say and do. I begin my day by setting the intention to treat myself with love. I will rest when I am tired, take time for fun, and enjoy nature. If I notice negative thinking, I will turn it around. I envision a joyful day. Every gain I make in loving and accepting myself helps me experience more inner peace. This is important because the more peaceful I am inside, the greater my ability to respond with mutual respect and love for my neighbor. The energy I generate contributes to lifting the collective consciousness, calming unrest, and promoting peace. I nurture peace by loving myself and others. Let us then pursue what makes for peace and for mutual upbuilding. Romans 14:19.
I love that. Thank you, Clark. And now for the lesson for today. Zeal is a metaphysical deal with Friend Deb.
Oh, dancing makes you thirsty. Good morning. Good morning. It is wonderful to be back. Good to see all of you. And my heartfelt thanks to Steve. Round of applause. Thank you. And Claire, thank you for the wonderful Dr. Seuss potluck. It sounds like it was. So I had an incredible experience. It's a good thing I had a talk to give today to kind of process it, because it was over the top. I had the privilege of attending the Parliament of the World's Religions, and the theme was reclaiming the heart of our humanity. Reclaiming the heart of our humanity, working together for a world of compassion, peace, justice, and sustainability. Now, I've been to unity conferences, and that creates quite an energy field. This was 10,000 people. 10,000 people in the Salt Palace in the center of Salt Lake City. I have never been with that many people who are holding that same consciousness. It was over the top. A consciousness of oneness, a consciousness celebrating our diversity, a consciousness bringing us all together, many paths all coming to that awareness that there's only one God, and we are all just wanting to experience that power and presence in our own way. The energy was just incredible. It was a field of zeal like none other. You couldn't not catch it. There were, over and over again, 5 days in a row, I heard all about our connection to all the peoples of the earth, our connection to Mother Earth, and reconnecting to the heart of humanity, reconnecting to a sense of our higher purpose. There were people from all over the planet in their native costumes, in their religious garb. It was like the UN for religions. It was just amazing. And out of that energy came a constant focus on the divine feminine. That was just spectacular. The first day on Thursday was devoted to the divine feminine. I want you guys to see this. This was the program. It looks like a college course catalog for Iowa State, right? This was what you had to choose from. Every day there must have been 75 things to choose from. It was incredible. I'm going to leave that here for you to look at if you would like. I had to bring it home in my suitcase, and it's heavy. Out of that energy was this whole divine mother, divine feminine. It was amazing. And there was, and the earth as our mother, respecting the earth. There was a poignant and very clear distinction between using the words world and globe to describe our common home, and the words planet and earth to describe the organic nature of Mother Earth, the earth goddess, the feminine. When you think about world and globe, we're thinking about agency, things we have done to the earth, about dominion, more of the masculine side. This was all about the earth and globe, or a planet as an organic entity. And the earth that has birthed us, which opened herself to birth all of us into life. And these were concepts and words that continually invited us all into harmony, into a spiritual union, into a spiritual relationship with the earth, away from exploitation and into actions which heal the mother, heal the earth. And the invitation was just continuous. What was so interesting to me, I've been to a lot of unity things and a lot of other things where the divine feminine is acknowledged, and then we just kind of move on and fall into the old patterns. This was a deliberate, intentional connection to the divine feminine, which stayed as in the foreground every day. That was like, wow, okay, I could get used to this. I like this idea, this goddess, this divine feminine. The very first day when I got there, on Thursday afternoon, I went into the afternoon sessions of the women's meetings, and here is the granddaughter from Japan of the man who started the Peace Pole Project, bringing greetings to the whole Parliament from him, from her family, and it was like, wow, our Peace Pole, and there she is. It was just so sweet. I was really touched by that, and the feeling that connection. The constant theme was power of connectivity. The power of connectivity as compared to the power of separation or dominance of the earth. And the local Salt Lake paper and the TV had articles about this whole event, and they said, there's a love fest going on over there at the Salt Palace. It's a love fest among all these different peoples and all these different religions, and there really was. For the record, the Salt Palace only charged the Parliament $1 for rental for the whole thing. Yes, for 5 days. Now they got a lot of income in concessions, I'll tell you. I spent enough for coffee alone. For 10,000 people buying coffee for 5 days, it was a lot. This Salt Palace, if you think of we're on the corner of 9th and Kellogg, it took up the entire block. It would go from 8th to 9th, Kellogg to Douglas over here. That was the building. And it was just like, I've never been in an airplane hangar before for a conference, but it was huge. So, there we were. And when I think I couldn't take any more, here comes Marianne Williamson. If you've ever heard her speak, she is incredibly powerful. And she is talking about, in the plenary session, about women's issues and compassion and equality for women worldwide. And she didn't just say that we needed it, she demanded it. Then there was Rabbi Lynn Gottlieb. She was the very first Jewish rabbi to ever be ordained in 1972. And she has long flowing hair, which when people remarked, while you're a woman, she'd whip her hair around and stroke her hair, holding it from her chin. Said, why, yes, I am. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I am. She was amazing. She called for unity and harmony in Palestine and Israel. There were so many more. Women from India who've been working for hunger and for, again, human rights, women's rights. Then when I just didn't think I could hold any more, we're all walking around like, oh my God, I can't take anymore. Here comes Michael Beckwith. And oh my God, that was over the top. Can he preach? You go to his church, he is just over the top. And it was, preceding him was a video from the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama couldn't be there, but he sent his love, and that he held the same energy for the poor, the disenfranchised, the healing of the planet, income inequality, unequal distribution of resources, that we have to hold a consciousness and let go of the hierarchy of religions. There is no one religion that is the best. I don't know who gave this description, but it really stayed with me. Think about it like triangles. Typically we get in our square. This is what we believe, and we stay inside the boundaries of our square. But in this experience, we were like triangles, each with our own way of connecting with the divine, each with our own purposes, but all pointing toward the one, all pointing in that same direction to the center. And when you put all these triangles together, they make that circular whole. It was just a beautiful image. Now, I did take pictures, and some of you, if you've seen I put them on Unity's not website, but on our Facebook page. And there's Michael Beckwith. They had a labyrinth. I walked the labyrinth several times. Every morning, in the upper left-hand corner, the Buddhist monks were creating a mandala. And it was with little bits of wax that they were scraping off wax sticks and into this, yes, it was amazing. And then they would destroy it and start over and make another one the next day. It was amazing. This is a peace flags made by children, and that is Phyllis from Dallas. She is a Methodist and said, "What is unity?" That was an interesting conversation. We were at what's called a langar, which is a meal prepared by the Sikh religion every day in India. And they prepared it every day at the parliament. There was no charge. You just had to line up, and they took 500 people in each setting, and you had to take your shoes off and have your head covered. And then they served you. It was the best curry I have ever had in my life, and the best chai. I mean, this was authentic stuff, so it was really, really good. This one down here was the Cosmic Mass with Matthew Fox, if you've ever heard of that. Matthew Fox is one of my favorite religious scholars. And he did this Cosmic Mass where I think there were 300 of us in a room, one of these breakout kinds of rooms. There were too many, and the local fire department came and said some people had to leave. The Cosmic Mass is an experience of his creation-oriented story of creation, his creation theology. And you start with the via positiva, the way of positive, the via negativa, the via creativa, and the via transformativa. In the via negativa, you are letting go. It's a releasing service, a releasing kind of experience. And we all got down on the floor on all sevens. Because when you get on the floor, it's your knees, your toes, your hands, and then he had us put our heads down on the floor too. And just let go, make whatever sound you needed to make, to let go of whatever it is, that the pain of the earth, the pain of whatever. So it was quite powerful when everybody's doing that. And then it ends with this great big dance. So it was just amazingly wonderful. Let's see, Karen Armstrong was there, and she was on a panel. Do you know Karen Armstrong? She wrote a book called The Case for God. And another one about defining who God is, and it's an historical perspective. She is a well-known religious scholar, and I love her work. I've read lots of her stuff. She was on a panel about texts of terror in all of the sacred scriptures, and how do we transmute those? How do we live those? How do we make those real? The rabbi was on that panel, and so was a gentleman representing scholarship of Islam. And what she said, and what really spoke to me, is that we are living in a time that calls us to embody sacred texts. Not just to read about them, not just to learn about them, but to embody them. Jesus said, love your enemies. It is time for us to embody that, to really begin to live it. And I thought, yeah, I've been thinking that one too for a long time. And there were many, many unity ministers there, many, many representatives of New Thought. There were many sessions about New Thought. In fact, the Parliament has given us our own category. Under Christianity, New Thought, we're there specifically not as a little marginal piece, but significantly present. There were at least 56 unity ministers there. And you know how I found that out? Somebody organized that we'd all go to dinner together. And word got out, and that Susan Engpool had made reservations for 20, and 56 of us showed up. But there was plenty, and we had a great time. It was absolutely wonderful. What's on my next page? Oh, yes. This looks familiar. Those the peace flags that we made. This is what it looks like when 10,000 people get together and start making them. And that was about climate. And there is a climate conference happening in Paris in November, and so that was all about that. There was a huge world peace mural. There was a quilt that was made by women in Israel and the Palestinian women together, a peace quilt that they made together. There was a little peace tree. I don't know if she got that in. Outside of the whole building, every morning, there was two huge teepees, and Native Americans, and a fire. And the fire was going the entire time, all night, all day. And they would smudge you if you wanted to be smudged before you went in, which is a Native American cleansing. So I did that a couple times. It was just incredible. There were representatives of Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, Judaism, Baha'i, Jainism, paganism. There were even atheists. I don't know why, but they were there. Unitarians, Wiccans, and Christianity. So every possible religion that you can imagine were there, all celebrating the paths known by many names, to the oneness known by many names. So it was spiritual zeal at its zenith. It was just incredible. There was a felt sense of inclusivity, which I have never experienced before at this level, where everyone's voice was important, everyone's voice was valued, everyone's voice, everyone's experience of God was a treasure. There wasn't any divisiveness of you but not you. The Mormons were there. They were part of it. And that became an instructive experience for me, my learning growth edge. As the earth was honored, women were honored. 60% of the people attending were women, and there was a women's tent also. And then there were also, I want to go to this one. Oops. And she said if I clicked on it, it would just start. They had whirling dervishes as part of this. And they went on for 10 minutes. Now, I don't have the music on it, but it was amazing. That was quite something. And then they had Buddhist monks who were toning that low tones, and they started one of the plenary sessions. So it was just a smorgasbord of every kind of spiritual experience. And there were dances of peace going on constantly. I participated in those because I do that in Des Moines. And so I knew some of the songs, which was really nice. So every kind of spiritual practice held in a loving field of energy that was just amazing and just heart-opening. What was interesting to me? The words humility, spiritual maturity, and spiritual discipline were words that I heard during the plenary sessions over and over again. Matthew Fox talked about humility at the beginning of the cosmic mass. And the word humility comes from the Latin word humus, which is soil. It literally means earth. So when we get to that place of true humility, what we are remembering is our connection to the earth, our connection to the soil of each other, that we all come from that same womb. We were all birthed out of the Earth Mother. And the humility, real humility, keeps us directly connected to that reality. Then, there was an Islamic scholar, Rami Nashibi, and he was on the day that we were talking about, I think it was income inequality. Michael Beckwith was the opening speaker for that, but then he spoke. He's from Chicago, and he's a scholar, an Islamic scholar. And what he began with is, I want you to not applaud. I want you to listen and really think about this and not applaud. Because there were so many lines that everybody was just enthusiastically applauding, and he was saying, no, it's going to be difficult, but I want you to really take this in. And to get 9,500 people to not applaud was not easy. because his message was about how important, if we're going to bring about changes in this world, it begins with us. It begins with us and with our own personal spiritual discipline. It begins with us becoming spiritually mature. We may have that intense feeling of zeal or enthusiasm, but his frequently repeated call was to bring our reactions out of emotion and really into a center, into our thinking selves, and to have balance and to find that place of balance. What he was asking us is to spend enough time in meditation and stillness and the silence. Now, this is an Islamic scholar talking about spending time in that stillness so that everything we go out and do is informed by Allah, informed by spirit, informed by that higher truth, that higher reality. Well, that could preach in the Unity Church, right? Many paths, and we're all on that same path. And there was a constant invitation to realize that and let go of attachment to your spiritual practice as the only one. The power of zeal under the guidance of wisdom and love is really what we're talking about. And that's what was at the Parliament, to step into that consciousness of our oneness and connectedness and step out of what we have going now in our race consciousness and culture of us and them, right? They're wrong, I'm right. Us and them in our squares. Step out of that. The result, when we don't step out of that, is that without sufficient reflection, without enough looking within, introspection, all we do is project out our issues onto everyone else with great intensity and emotion, right? And it doesn't help to create peace, justice, compassion, or a sustainable world. It creates that reductionist, simplistic thinking that no longer serves us in this highly complex, interconnected planet. Now, the other side of the coin, because it was a real learning experience for me. In contrast, I want to describe the backdrop in which this incredible Parliament experience happened. Because there are voices that we also heard, but just not as loudly. And they were the voices of the Mormon women attending the Parliament. The Mormon women called themselves Mormon feminists, which seemed a little bit like an oxymoron. How could that be? But they were advocating, if you listen to these very courageous women, they were advocating for ordination of women. They had a whole booth for ordination of women. And if you see here this little black gate kind of thing, it was one of the exhibits in the exhibit hall. And you walked in and they had a whole basket of discarded keys. And what they asked everybody to do is write your name on the key and where you were from. And then attach it to that gate and ring the bell. It's a little bit like the thing on the left bank in Paris, where the locks of love, where you put the lock on the fence. They're holding this to help have all of us help hold them in consciousness of the possibility of women someday being ordained in the Mormon Church. There was a young woman who got up to speak, and she was on a panel, and she was wanting to speak a little bit about what Mormonism is, and that she agreed and held the view of the Parliament that there is no one religion that's better. We're all headed to that same experience. But she prefaced her remarks by saying she could be excommunicated if her elder heard her say this. her husband could lose his job. They could be kicked out of the Mormon church. And I had never thought about that. For her publicly to say these things was a real risk. And she was both excited and anxious at the same time. And we gave her a standing ovation. And then, having witnessed that, and then doing the gate things, Judy and I were together. Judy was here for our retreat, if you remember. So we did a lot of things together. And there was an event on Sunday night, a musical event in the Mormon Tabernacle, which is a rounded building, and you had to get in line very early, so we missed it. We got inside the temple complex. And the temple complex is huge, and it has like 10-foot high walls around it, and it's gated. So you don't go in there unless you have a ticket to something or whatever. And you can't go in the temple itself unless you're Mormon. Even if your children are getting married and you're not Mormon, you cannot go in the temple. So it started to rain. And we were there, we were walking around, and it started to rain, and so we ducked into the visitor center. And we ducked into the visitor center that has, it's like a historical museum of the Mormon Trail and the Mormons settling in Utah, and it has a diorama, cutaway scale model of the temple and the rooms inside. Well, I had to try to behave myself. We were encountered by missionaries. Missionaries from Korea, missionaries from Ukraine, missionaries from Mexico, these women, young women, sisters, they call themselves. And as we walked around and we were standing there and we were looking at the diorama, there's a whole floor of it, which is their baptismal font kind of place, and it has oxen, 12 oxen, statues of oxen there. And being somewhat naughty, I said, "Oh, you baptize cows?" She looked at me and she said, "No, it's the 12 tribes of Israel. Are you familiar with the Bible?" I said, "Why, yes, I am. In fact, I'm a minister." And she said, "Oh, you work in the church?" I said, "No, I'm a minister. I'm like the senior minister. I give the talks, I choose the topics." "Oh, really?" And it put her off her stride. But we got into a conversation, and I told her about that, well, what denomination? I said, Unity. And that we meditate, and we don't believe in original sin, we don't believe in that you have to be saved. Jesus is our way shower, and we have to be awakened. And that we all have the Christ within us. And we don't go to hell, we don't believe in hell, we don't believe in heaven. So, are you Christian? Mm-hmm, we are. And it just really put her off her stride until she asked me, "Do you have a book? Are you familiar with the Book of Mormon?" I said, "Well, yes, I have one." And then her eyes lit up. "Oh!" And then she started quoting chapter and verse. And it was like, prior to the baptismal room is the garden room, the fall of Adam and Eve, why you have to be baptized. I mean, I could follow the logic of this. And I said, we don't believe Adam and Eve are our first parents. And I mean, it just all blew her mind. But she finally got her stride. And she started quoting the Book of Mormon and telling me what I needed to believe and all of that. And it began to sound like the musical, the Book of Mormon. Has anybody seen that? But the music never started. It was just almost scary because it was so real to her as to believing all of the things that the prophet had revealed. And it was like a immersion in this kind of, I have never encountered anyone so brainwashed, so completely immersed in a way of thinking that they can't even take in anything else. I am absolutely sure that when she and her friend went home that night, that our souls were prayed for mightily. because I'm sure she thought we had a first-class ticket right to hell, and that it was really, really awful for us. Now, it was a kind of zeal that was backed by strong emotion, but not questioned or examined. And that wasn't allowed. Judy's son became a Mormon, and he had to leave the church when he started asking questions. He started asking too many questions, and he was asked to leave the church. As a result, his wife, who was a fifth-generation Mormon, had to divorce him. So there are incredible consequences for this unquestioning, unexamined zeal or enthusiasm. Now, to be honest with you, I want to leave you with another Korean woman's ideas. Because I left there, and Judy and I had to go have a glass of wine to sort of detox from all of that. And ideas about true peacemaking, and this is from a woman who is a scholar in sociology at Union Theological Seminary in New York City. She is a religious theologian, or religious sociology, the sociology of religions. Her observation is that what true peacemaking requires, true peacemaking, is the ability and the capacity to hold the differences, to allow for the differences, based on diversity, reciprocity, and sustainability, to hold the differences. Okay, now, that means everybody. So if we are going to hold a consciousness of inclusivity, it includes everyone, no matter what they believe, no matter how they practice it. Busted, huh? So as much as I wanted to rant and rave at the pain inflicted on women by the Mormon Church, at the pain I saw them experiencing, I was really redirected in my zeal to hold that truly feminine path of reciprocity, inclusivity, and sustainability. Diversity. And it's only when we go there that we have compassion that is reclaiming the heart of our humanity and the heart of humility. It was really a metaphysical experience for me and a metaphysical practice. So let's take that energy of inclusivity, of sustainability and reciprocity, where everyone is equally valued all over the planet. Let's take that into meditation. I've got the clicker. Where's the clicker? And we're going to sing Blessed Always. And now I'll give it back to you.
Surround us, forever.
as you continue to breathe, allow your attention to drop to your heart space, to that place of compassion. That place that can enlarge to hold everyone. That place that is accepting of all diversity in that family that is human, that path that is spiritual, knowing however it shows up, whatever strategies we choose, whatever restrictions we accept, we really are on that path to find our oneness with each other and with Spirit. So whoever the other might be for you, whose beliefs you struggle to accept or to acknowledge or to allow, whoever the other is, bring that person, that group, into your heart space and feel your oneness. Feel that same humus makes up their being, that same energy of spirit enlivens them, that same zeal, energy of God pours through their being just as it pours through you. And see the holy and the wholeness in all of it. And just breathe from that place of your heart, that place of love. As we rest for a moment now, holding it all in the silence, in the silence. Divine Sweet Spirit, we are so grateful for our capacity to hold the other, for our capacity to open to the oneness of all creation, oneness with all created beings, no matter what we believe or what we do. We are all your divine humus. And in that spirit of true humility, we embrace one another from a place of love and compassion. So let us sing together, "Blessed always, for the arms of God surround all of us, all the time."
When we rest
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are,